watching News at Prime. Let's bring you this conversation now, and it's one of our leading stories. The Electricity Minister, Dr Kgosientsho Ramokgopa, announcing that South Africa will spend over 2.2 trillion rand to diversify its energy mix. This will see the country ramp up gas and nuclear generation in a bid to decrease reliance on coal. The South African National Energy Development Institute's Professor Sampson Mamphweli joining us now to try and make sense of what the minister told us earlier today. Professor, good evening to you. Thank you very much for your time. I'd like to start with the quick outline of what the minister said, almost an overriding factor, if you will, that this new integrated resource plan is designed to end load shedding permanently. Can we start there? Do you think that this is now indeed on the horizon?
Good evening to you and the viewers. Yes, I agree with the minister. If you look at the new generation capacity that is provided for in the draft in the new IRP integrated resource plan, you're looking at 105,000 megawatts that should be procured and installed between now and 2039. So that basically means that if we have that new generation capacity coupled with the performance of the Eskom coal fleet, which will be reduced drastically to about 27%, that should ensure security of energy supply in the country. So I fully agree with the minister that the plan is designed to end load shedding or security of energy supply, for security of energy supply in the main.
But for people, ordinary people on the ground, to believe in what the minister is saying, it almost seems a contradiction in terms, because today we're running a story about a community in Tembisa that has not had power for 6 months. Yes, it's not load shedding, but it is perhaps power outages, or it could be what has become something that people are very stressed about, and that is load reduction. How do you make people believe? How do you make people believe that that statement indeed is to be believed, that this IRP plan is designed to end load shedding permanently?
Yeah, so that's an issue that requires attention, a lot of attention. And it could be like what you're saying, due to load reduction. The minister spoke at length about access and affordability and things like that. So that talks to the matters around access to electricity. And part of what we discussed during the G20 summit was energy access to clean cooking, access to electricity and things like that. Now, coming back to that particular issue, you might find that those communities are in areas where that were designed based on the carrying capacity at a particular point in time, which basically means that the electricity infrastructure in that particular area was designed to carry a particular capacity, and that capacity has now been exceeded to an extent that for city power or Eskom or whoever is providing electricity to that area, to protect the infrastructure that is around that particular area, they have to do load reduction.
Yeah.
But if it's an area where they've got access to the infrastructure, but for the past 6 months, they didn't have electricity at all, that is not load reduction. It's something that needs to be brought to the attention of the authorities for them to start looking at what are the actual problems that need to be dealt with at that particular area. Minister has been talking about dealing with load reduction, and part of what he wants to do is to bring in things such as your smart meters to deal with load reduction, where you can have a meter can provide you with, let's say, for lack of a better word, enough electricity to run your entire household. But when it detects that the system is now under a severe stress, it then switches over. It gives you just enough electricity to run your essential loads in the particular house. So that is one of the interventions that the Minister of Electricity and Energy is trying to bring to areas that are that have got issues of load reduction. Another aspect, Collie, is the issue of illegal connections.
Yeah.
So, like I indicated before, when the systems are designed, they're designed with a particular carrying capacity. The substations, the transformers are designed to carry the capacity in a particular area. So what happens is people then come and connect additional capacity that was not planned for. That goes even beyond the buffer that has been provided for in that particular infrastructure, which then leads to overload of the infrastructure, that then leads to the municipality or ESCOM having to implement load reduction. So communities must also assist government in terms of identifying and dealing with issues that are around illegal connections of electricity.
Yeah. This IRP 2025, Professor Mamphweli, promises more than 105,000
Yes.
megawatts of new generation capacity by the
It's on
year
Wednesday.
by the year 2039, representing the single biggest investment program in the post-apartheid era. So let's talk
Okay.
about that. Let's dissect it. Is part of this pivot to gas and nuclear? And if your answer is yes, nuclear not so long ago was almost a swear word, particularly in the Zuma era. What's the difference between then and now?
Yeah, actually, I kind of missed your first part of the question. I think it was due to connection issues.
All right.
I just heard you from where you started saying, I'm talking about nuclear and gas, and
So
is
let
the
me
question
repeat.
why nuclear now?
Exactly. My question has to do with the nuclear part of the pivot, that if indeed this new investment largely relies not only on gas but also nuclear, I was saying not too long ago, nuclear was almost seen as a swear word, particularly in the Zuma era. What's the difference between now and then?
Yeah, so there's context around that. So in the past, the IRP 2010 had a nuclear capacity of about 9 gigawatts. And the issues around the procurement of the nuclear new build where there were issues around the cost of the new nuclear new build, the structure of the new nuclear new build, and the procurement process that was being followed by the then administration. Now, if you look at what the current administration is doing around nuclear, there are a number of things that are being done. The first one is they are looking at the costs and the pace at which we would build this nuclear new build. So if today, when the minister was talking about the nuclear new build, he talked about the 5,200 megawatts that needs to be built between now and 2039. And then he talked about the building the nuclear sector, so to speak, where we need to then start with things like your piloting of your SMR, small scale modular reactor, on the nuclear side of things, doing some research that will inform the IRP going forward, additional megawatts, how we then bring in the additional megawatts on the nuclear side of things. So the pace and the scale of the nuclear new build and the cost has now been taken into consideration. And if you look at if you go deep into the IRP itself, it talks about a levelized cost of electricity over a long period of time, and then after about an operation of between 5 and 10 years, you start to have electricity at very cheap electricity from the nuclear new build. If you look at the gas side of things, the gas we're looking at the getting about 6 gigawatts of gas. Now, this has got to do with security of energy supply. Gas, in my view, is going to replace part of the coal fleet that we're going to decommission. So the draft IRP is talking about decommissioning the coal fleet down to about 27%. But we still need that base load. We still need gas to come in as mid-merit. That's why the minister talked about how we're going to bring in gas as mid-merit.
Yeah.
Basically, the gas will be sitting between your coal fleet and your renewables and the nuclear capacity. So when the system operator detects that we are going to run short of capacity in the next hour or so, they can be able to ramp gas up as quickly as possible. So that's the reason behind bringing in this new gas, 6 gigawatts of new build in terms of the gas.
Okay.
And going forward, you notice that there's quite a huge share of renewable energy, a lot of wind energy, and a lot of solar energy. Yes, some of the solar energy technologies have now improved. They come with some of the ancillary services that we require in terms of their inverters and things like that. But you need a mix that will still have your base load. That's why the IRP talks about the nuclear new build. But on the nuclear new build, I think the current IRP takes into consideration the aspects that I have mentioned, the scale, the pace, and the cost of the nuclear new build. Whereas in the past, you might recall, Tolly, that there was some kind of a reckless kind of procurement. We were looking at, and there was not even money to procure the 9 gigawatts that the previous administration that you made reference to wanted to procure. It was overly ambitious, and it was going to cost the country too much. But if you look at the new IRP, it's not overly ambitious in my view. And when this nuclear new build will come in, it will come at a time when we need it the most.
Professor, I'm out of time. Very quickly. We have been told that in South Africa, we have been having it good in terms of electricity prices. With this plan, what will it say, or what will it do in terms of its impact on the price of electricity?
So the IRP itself wouldn't tell you the tariff that you're going to pay. It is modeled based on the least cost technology. Basically, what we look at is out of all the technologies that are available out there that we want to get as part of the energy mix, which ones are the least cost in terms of bringing in the new generation capacity. The less the cost, the better. And the mix is based on that. Basically, this new IRP is modeled to protect the economy in terms of the cost of electricity. It's modeled to protect the poor and the vulnerable in terms of the cost of the electricity. But the actual electricity price is going to come up from the market. And it might be lower than what the IRP has envisaged.
Interesting indeed. Professor Sampson Mamphweli, thank you very much for your time.